event stage manager, event MC, anchorage, and consultant in various spheres that need a blend of arts, media, music, and film. He has held leadership positions as a former chairman of Actors Guild Abuja chapter, former coordinator of the Directors Guild of Nigeria, a fellow of the Directors Guild of Nigeria, and will soon be made a fellow of the Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners. He is a member of the Advisory Council of the National Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners and a member of Directors Guild of Nigeria Policy Advisory Council, and he will soon be made president of the Federation of African Actors. He is also a member of the Institute of Strategic and Development Communication. He is a member of so many boards of trustees and undertakes various pedagogical activities through his master classes. Chief Duru remains a firm believer of Afrocentric values and at every point in time, a believer of the notion that Africa can actually take care of her own. He has so many awards and has worked with so many humanitarian bodies and has helped so many charities and is still helping. He was recently inducted into Nollywood's legendary Hall of Fame. He was born in the Cameroon of Nigerian parentage, married and blessed with 2 wonderful children. He remains a devout Christian and has served as a minister of God in Family Worship Center, Abuja, where he has put in 24 years working and mentoring in the youth department. He hails from Okai, Eziama, in Isiala, Mbano, Imo State, and proudly Nigerian. Thank you very much for joining us, Chief Francis Duru. Professor
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chief. It's an honor to begin this conversation with you. I want to enter this conversation by asking you some very pedantic question. You became quite well known within Nigeria and I think in certain parts of Africa through your film, The Rattlesnake. What was the impact of fame on you as a young man? Right.
Okay, Prof, thank you so much for that question. I think, first and foremost, I was privileged to have had a very strong foundation as a theater arts practitioner. As an amateur, I worked in a resident theater, Paul Warwicker, repertory theater, and from there straight into the university. And there we were taught ethics and etiquette about the business. It was about giving your best to the next job. And I'll tell you something, Prof. I had the best of awards. I had the best of awards from one of the late sage, late Professor Olarotimi. Having finished a stage work, he saw me. I made some blunders by actually using my hands to break, a glass frame. And I never knew that the old man saw it. For him, it was an aberration. And when he called me after that event, I thought he was going to applaud the beautiful work I did. And at the end of the day, he messed me up, bashed up, and now said, I was trying to impress people. I said, what if I cut open an artery? Then later drove me to his house. And I was privileged to have been served boiled yam, beef, and stew by him. And when he asked me not to wash the plate, I still got into the kitchen to wash the plate as a typical African boy who understands the place of reverence. Why would I eat and leave the plate for an elderly man of that nature, irrespective of the fact he had asked me? And when he came to the kitchen, he saw me washing the plate. He asked why I had to do that after he had asked me not to. I said, I'm sorry. That's what he said, Prof. He said, you are a good actor. Don't ever let it get into your head. Yes. And to me, that became very, very pertinent. I wore it and I've worn it in my heart to understand too well that, each time I do what I do and I get applauded, I'm on that canvas of celebrity, superstardom, or fame. I must understand too well that there are other persons too who would have had the same opportunity, but I was just privileged to. So for me, handling fame was like, I didn't see it as like, I was just seeing myself as a young man who was doing well in the area. I didn't see fame. I didn't even know much about fame till later part. But later part, when I realized it, what I now did was like, put it on as a garment, like a jacket, when I feel like or when I don't feel like, to make sure that thing that was told, don't let it get into your head. So I have handled fame with so much moderation, doing the things I need to do and not overdoing it, making sure it does not cut deep into my individuality and spirituality, where it begins to take center stage and makes me a larger than life personality. So I handle fame with so much moderation till today.
Oh, that's really that's excellent. Now my question is this: I know you have handled fame in a very moderate way. How did you get into this Nollywood business? How did you get into it? What happened? What were the circumstances that led you, Chief, to become an actor? I know you handled it well, but how did you get there?
Yeah. Great question, Prof. And I like the word circumstances, because mine was actually circumstances, because I had finished writing my secondary school exam, WAEC we call it, and we were writing JAM, that is what qualifies you to get into the university. I'd written for 2 years and not meeting the cutoff point. So one of those days, I was rising around. I have a friend who attends this repertory theater. They go each day to go and do film. And that's okay. Let me just follow them and see what they were doing. And I went that particular day, and they were having a sketch, a stage production. And while they were having it, there was this guy who was supposed to play a particular role, and the guy couldn't make it. So it affected them. So they just, if I could do it. And the particular role needed an accent. And lo and behold, I had that accent. I used to play with it, not knowing what I was going to do with it, just because, the masquerade, if you understand, anybody from Nigeria understand that, Zebediah and all that stuff, they were like the soap operas, younger ones we grew up watching. There's about the character they call Gringori, who speaks with that particular accent. And I could play all the accent of all of them. And there was I dropped in, did it perfectly, and they asked me if I had done it before. I said, no, this is the very first time. But while in secondary school, the only drama I did was Oliver Twist in Sacred Heart College, Mancon. Oliver Twist, we were in the workhouse. And so when that opportunity came, I never knew that was actually the key that opened to my calling in life, what I had been proposed for. And from there, research production, repertory theater, that's how in the next 4, 5, 6 months, I got into the university. And that is the story you have till today.
Oh, okay. So, but you have acted in a number of different films. Of all these different films, which one don't you like at all? I mean, which of these many films do you say, oh gosh, I don't even know why I got myself involved in this, right?
Prof, some of the films I don't like, I can't even remember them. That's the only way I'll put it. I don't even remember them. But I'll tell you some of the films I really love so much. Apparently, not even Rattlesnake first. My very first film, The Missing Mask. The Missing Mask is a movie I cherish because I handled that film with the mindset. I was a neophyte, a young man who was learning theater to film or to home video, a new turf. And here was I not using English language that I've been so used to, but to use mother tongue, Igbo language, not just a normal Igbo language, but Central Igbo, which means I had to adhere to the linguistic specifics of that language, not mix it with other languages. And by the time we finished that whole thing, the day I watched it, I was amazed at myself. So it remains my first and one of my best, I'll tell you. Then we have Eva, Mother Eva. Mother Eva was so beautiful. I like the film one because of the stress involved and my being able to actually portray that character with so much believability that each time I watch it, I begin to ask, how did I go through that? Because one, the environment was harsh. The cold of Jaws, the costumes were not friendly. You just had leather leaflets, almost bare body. So you are in the midst of that cold. Then the makeup that gives me a scaly body like somebody who had been struck with leprosy, cursed by the gods for standing in for the community with a hunchback. So they use flour. They bake flour on my skin from top to down, apart from the things that cover, the mid region and all that stuff. So I was literally baked every day for almost 20 days. And I was still able to carry that character. And when you see the character, it became a strange being in the land. Then the next one is Total War, Final War, where I had to speak using the Liberian accent. But the thing about that one is that I was torn between the lion and the lamb. You play the terrorist, now you play the pastor. So that it was tough. Why I love them is because of the challenges they gave me. The challenges they gave me made me to become a much better actor. Because if I'm doing a movie, it is not challenging to me. It is there's a likehoodness of taking a linear approach and trying to be less unserious. So those three, Missing Mask, Total War, Final War, Eva. Then Rattlesnake was actually the one movie that launched me into prominence, which I still have tremendous respect and affection for today too. I can't hear you, Prof.
Magun, you are muted.
Yeah, okay. Can you give us an example of what a Liberian accent is? Can you just answer my question using a Liberian accent? Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pandelo, and I know how I'm asking or answering that kind of question. Because all the things that happened that time, and the things that made me that chocolate my head, that how I want to answer it.
Yes, I come from Zimbabwe, so I was going to ask you whether you could try and do a Zimbabwean accent, but we'll leave that for another day. Thank you.
Well, we did a whole lot of the South African plays. The Six
Yes,
bands there,
yes,
Rosa
yes,
Albert.
yes.
So we were privileged to have learned the songs, danced Ipitombi, and all
Yes,
those songs. That if
yes.
I had my harmonica here now, I would sing South African's national anthem from beginning to the end. That was what
Okay,
theater gave us. Yeah, so
okay.
theater gave us that opportunity that once there's a need for characterization, the linguistic element must be apt.
Yes,
So you
yes.
study it, and make sure. So for me, accent, are things I pick regularly and I use it to actually color characterization.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chief. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Right. Now we're going to move on to Simi. It's you now who is going to show us clips of some of Chief's films. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Marconi, and thank you for being here, Chief Francis Duru. So we're going to be showing a couple of movies that Chief Francis Duru has acted in, and we'll do a bit of introduction from the movies. And before that, let me share my screen, and Amazing, let me know if you can see my screen, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can see. I can see
Okay.
it perfect. Yeah.
And then I will play the movie. The first movie we're going to watch is the story of Akweke and the ghost husband. And here Chief Francis Duru plays Obugwagu, who is a love-seeking hunter. And he's in love with this fiery princess named Princess Akweke, which is played by Chioma Chukwuka. And Chioma Chukwuka, that is Princess Akweke, does not believe that any man in the community is at the standard that they should be, and any man is worth her time and should marry her. But Ogwagu is prepared to prove otherwise and make sure that she knows that he is the perfect husband that she needs. So the first scene I'm going to show is Ogwagu's love confession, or I say love confrontation is what I would rather call it, to Princess Akweke. And here he just talks about how he loves her. And then the second scene I will show is that Obuagu's fight with what I would say is Princess Akweke's ghost husband. So what happens is that Princess Akweke refuses Ogwagu, but instead falls in love with this man, which appears to also be a ghost. But Ogwagu does not know this, and he goes to confront him and challenges him, and so they have a bit of a fight. So we're going to also see that scene, and then Amazing will be taking the part 2 of that movie. So this is the scene.
Of Ochikenze of Amanatonkoro. What is this? What is it? What do you want? Do you not know this is the secluded part of the street? Oh, my princess, there is no reason for you to panic. I have come with an urgent matter for you. Out with it, I do not have time. Princess, you are beautiful. Bright as the morning sun, mild as the moon on a dry night, enchanting, just like... It's okay. I hear you. What is it you want to tell me? Oh, I am Obuagu, the sweetest and richest hunter in Amanatonkoro. I know who you are. I've heard about your prowess with animals and how you use your craftiness to lure them into your trap. What exactly is your problem? My princess, I have come to use that same craft to lure you into my marriage proposal. Here, listen, my princess. This is meat. I killed it with my bare hands. Prepared it, roasted it for this purpose. Please, accept it. It is from my heart. Hunter, every animal does not smell the bait. Akweke does not run after bushmeat. You do not qualify. Take your roasted meat and go look for some other woman of your estate. My princess, I love you so much. Please. Run before I send the guards after you. Go. Just go. Young man, leave us alone. We have important things to do here and you're disrupting. Just go. And who told you that the princess is looking for a hunter's hitter? Be gone! Princess Akweke. Be gone! I will leave you. But I will never give you rest.
So that's the first scene. The second scene is where Ogwagu meets the man that is to be Princess Akweke's husband, who happens to also be a ghost.
Ranger, now listen to me. When a cock enters into a new territory, it stands on one leg. Every territory, stranger, has its lord. You entered into my territory and did not pay obeisance. Why, stranger? Why? Are you dumb? Now listen to me, stranger. I am in love with the princess. Princess Akweke Adezo Chikeze. Get your eyes off her. I see. What do you mean by I see? See what? The meaning of I see is that Akweke, the daughter of Ochekeze, of Amanato, is in love with me. And there is nothing you can do about it. An insult! That's an insult! You insult me! You insult me, stranger! Let me tell you, I will challenge you to a fight. Let's face it. The winner takes Akweke. Hunter. Hunter. What? Hunter, why don't you get used to what you know how to do? Like killing of grass cutters, rats, birds. Do I look like an animal to you? Stranger, you insult me! Why waste time? Let's sort it man to man. Come, stranger.
And that's the second scene. Amazing. Can you introduce the part 2?
So for the part 2, this is where the princess finally marries the stranger from another town. And then the princess's family, parents, dream that their daughter is not okay, that their daughter is not safe. And so they set up a search team to go and look for the princess. And then Obiago is part of the search team with other 2 men. And then with the first scene that I am going to show, they got lost and the priest came to their rescue. In the final scene, Obiago finally is able to save the princess. So Simi can go ahead.
I said it. This place is a dead end. Where do we go to now? I am so confused. A place where 3 footpaths meet? I'm so confused. I don't know. Which one do we do? Obiago. Mbata. We have arrived in the land of the dead. Or we are close to it. Window. Why do you say so? Maybe because so many strange things have been happening. Show yourself! Or if you don't show yourself, we're going to... Don't start a war you cannot finish. I came to drink. Your cutlass. Come on, time. Right. On time. Follow me. Mbata. Well.
And the last scene is where Obuagu saves Akweke from the land of the living dead.
Asalo asala. Rototo. Asalo asala. Asalo asala. Ebubabu nechago. Quick.
Okay. So the next one is Osinachi, My Love, where Ndubuisi plays the role of a hunter who falls in love with another woman in another town. And then he has a history, he has a past that he hasn't dealt with. He hasn't even come to the realization that this past is going to haunt him. And so he meets a man from another town, Mambela, who tells him that in order to be able to get a better future, he has to deal with his past. Other than that, he will never have a good future. And so he has to deal with that before he's able to have a better future. In the end, he deals with his past, but he's unable to get his Osinachi, the woman he loves, and he has to settle for another woman in his village. Apparently, he's known as a Casanova in that town, who has happened to have been with a lot of women there, and so he settles with one of them. The first scene is where the old man meets Ndubuisi and tells him to fix his past to get a better future. And the second scene is where Ndubuisi tries to convince his love to consider marrying him, though he knows about his past. And the third scene is where he goes to meet that his love has married another person and has to settle for another woman in his town. So, Timmy, go ahead.
Here's the first scene.
And I have a word with you.
Who are you, please? Hold on. You don't understand. You know me too well to the extent of calling my name and where I come from.
You are now making a solo mission to Ozona.
Yes.
Because a woman of that village has captured your hearts. That means that finally, Ndubuisi of Homework is thinking about the future. And I wonder, can a man rightly face the future without first dealing with his past?
Hold on. What are you saying?
I see the future. I see hope. Regrettably, I see the past. You are in the midst.
I move to the second scene where Ndubuisi convinces Osinachi to forget his past and still go on to marry him.
You have every right to maintain your stand. But I'm pleading with you, Nachi. Remember all we shared together. The oath, the love we nursed. I'm pleading with you. Let us forget the past and move ahead. Move ahead. Move ahead to what? You know, as man and wife. I heard she raped a maiden. And that she eventually ended up killing her own self. How do you think I'm supposed to get married to a man like that? How? have completed all the necessary ritual that I'm supposed to do to be free and marry again. I did everything because of you. Listen, I even heard of the rejection by the gods, and I knew you will never be happy about it. I was glad, Nachi. Nachi, you know why it happened? It happened because our ancestors want us to live together. Please, Nachi, I am pleading with you. I am. See, I almost got ruined. Everything was just working against me using maidens. But I have overcome all that. I'm a new man now, Nachi. A new man. And I'm ready to have a wife. Nachi.
In the last scene, Ndubuzo has to accept his fate and reality and forget Osinachi and go ahead to marry a woman from his town, from the advice of the woman in Umambala.
You remember what I told you? That our own Adama that we know already is way better than this maiden from Uzono that we don't even know. Atwaraman. We planned it together. They were the ones who asked me to come today. But you can see with your eyes that they are already marrying her to another man. Chai! Chim! Oh!
Ndubuzo of Umako.
I apologize for my actions. I performed all the rituals I was meant to perform. I was even blessed by the priest of Elulu. He asked me to carry on. Why are they marrying my woman to another? Why?
You see, she is married to another because she doesn't belong to you. That maiden is not yours. Adama of Umwako here is a woman you said you loved. Marry her now and be sure that your future is tied to the ones you ruin, not to the one that remained steadfast all her life. Ndubuzo of Umwako, take my advice and make up your mind.
I am a new man. I have been purified by the gods. Please accept me and I'll have reasons to leave. Please.
And the third movie we're going to be showing scenes from is Bypass. Richard, can you please introduce Bypass?
Yeah, so thank you, Simi. Thank you. Amazing. The third movie that we will be considering in this section is Bypass. Bypass, I guess, has several other parts, but the part we have chosen in this, the story continues in the part two of the movie, but we will just show some scenes or selected scenes from the first part of the movie. So essentially, Bypass is the story of a man called Barry, and he was married to a woman called Adneline, and Adneline was a role performed by the popular Ghanaian actress Jackie Appiah. In the story, Adneline, the wife of Barry, had a past of being a a commercial sex worker, and which was unknown to Barry before they got married. And later on, Barry learned about his wife's past, and he couldn't deal with that level of betrayal, and he decided to walk out of the marriage. So in the three scenes that you would be seeing, I'll just explain the scenes simultaneously. In the first scene, we see Barry having a heated argument with his mother, with his sister, about his intention to walk out of the marriage. He eventually abandoned his wife without a proper divorce. In the second scene, we see the story unfolding further, where Barry, while out of marriage, decides to become a pastor, and he takes on the new name Godwin, and then decides to marry another woman. And then in the last scene, we see Barry, the pastor and the clergyman, with his new wife, and there was this argument about romance, and spiritual commitment. And as new couples, there was this conflict between Godwin's ministry as a clergyman and his romantic commitment to his wife. And later on, I think the story continues in the part two of the movie, but I would leave you to enjoy this three scenes that we have selected from the movie. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the first scene.
Barry, I said no. Mama, I said no. What? Barry, you have to. And Mama, I say no. And I say it without mincing words that I no longer have anything to do with acting again. Period. For God's sake. I don't want to be killed or my head be broken by somebody she has either given a disease or somebody whose money she has stolen. Look at her. Barry, I need you to understand that Adeline, just like many other girls, is a victim of life's disappointment. We are not arguing that she's a very nice girl. No. Nobody's arguing that.
But Barry, she's your wife. And remember that marriage is for better and for worse.
No, we shut up that magic on now. What do you know about marriage? Barry, what do you know about marriage? Mama, listen, I've said it, I've made my point clear. I have nothing else to do with Adeline. If you guys are not satisfied with it, fair enough, go and marry Adeline. But as far as I'm concerned, Barry, I have nothing else to do with Adeline. That's it. Leave me alone. That's it.
Barry!
What, Mama?
Barry, what is your problem? Why do you insist on dragging me into a valley of unhappiness?
Oh, how, Mama, how?
Why are you being unnecessarily stubborn? Barry, all I want you to know right now is that Adeline here is your wife, whether you want it or not.
And I say no. You always talk about your own happiness. What about my own happiness, my own peace? I say I don't want again. Adeline is no longer my wife, and that's it.
Let's watch and see.
And this is the second scene where Barry then becomes a pastor and then marries another woman.
Our left, right, and center, which is the program to fight. The fight of ignorance and power. So, thank you.
Who is it?
Hi, sweet.
You're welcome.
Okay. You all right?
Yes.
Good.
I've got some food.
Wow, you did? That's quite thoughtful of you. Brother Jonathan, please could you take this inside? Okay. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, brother.
Good afternoon. You're welcome.
You had a nice day?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Everything's fine?
Honey,
Yes, sweet.
there's something I came to discuss with you.
Sounds important.
It's really important.
Let's go inside. So how
And this is the third scene after they've got married and now they're facing after Barry now turned Pastor Godwin marries Henrietta, but now they're facing issues in their marriage.
like this? I mean, the things of God should take preeminence over every other thing. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and every other thing shall be added unto you. That's the word of God. Besides, I need to go for this retreat to really prepare spiritually for this ground-shaking crusade. Oh, don't tell me that. Do you know what? What? Times I don't really understand you. Honey, just got married. Babe, we just got married. I'm a woman. I need you around. Now listen to me. You see, what's your problem? What's come over you? We've got to be spiritually alert. Iron sharpeneth iron. Maybe this moment we've got to put God first. Okay. What's the problem? This is the only time we can commit ourselves wholeheartedly to God, invest in Him, and see how He's going to open the windows of blessings. It's just but a little sacrifice to acquire energy, acquire the fire and power of God. I think the crusade that is forthcoming is a child's play. It's not. Oh, the enemy will fight you, but we've got to prepare. Really? Yes, baby. You've got to be there. You know, just do whatever you want to do. Just leave me alone. Just do whatever you want to do. You hear me? Just touch me. Touch me. And the last movie we're going to show today is the one of the movies Chief Francis Duru spoke about. That is Total War. In this movie, Chief Francis Duru plays a militant turned devoted pastor named Pastor Henry, who still suffers PTSD in the form of like nightmares from his previous life as a militant in Liberia, where he was known as Major Overheat. And so a lot of the movie is just him really like thinking and trying to put his past behind. However, his past catches up with him when his fiancée, Susan, her sister comes to visit because they're planning their wedding. And then Sandra, who used to also live in Liberia during the time of Major Overheat, then meets Pastor Henry and finds out that he is the same person
who killed their parents in Liberia. And their parents, as well as her, were victim of major overheat. And so they find out about his past as a militant. And so this is the movie we'll be showing today. So the first scene is where we meet Pastor Henry and Susan, which is his wife to be, and they talk about them being a pastor and a social crusader and being this perfect combination. The second scene is where things fall apart, where after Pastor Henry meets Susan's sister, who was one of his victims, and then he's forced to tell someone else and confide in a doctor about his past. And then the third scene is for us, just like paralleling what he looked like when he was major overheat. So the first scene is just us meeting Pastor Henry.
I now know something. I now know we are God's own thing. Mommy, I now know why God make this up. A pastor went as social crusader. Mommy, I give God thanks. I give God my praises, mommy. I give God, I uplift the name of the Almighty God, because, mommy, you are a gift, mommy. I bless the day I find you, my Lord. Bless the day I find you, my sweetheart. I love you. And you know what, my love? You look sweet, beautiful.
And so the second scene is where Pastor Henry is forced to grapple with his past.
Are you major over here? I'll be damned. I hate that goddamn name. That. I used to be known by that name. That was there. How about there? I can explain it. I'm listening. Doctor, at the beginning of the whole problem of the war, you got to be a man to have a nickname to exist. Mommy, we soldiers of the Patriotic Liberia Armed Forces took all sort of goddamn name. My name was Major Overheat. That was there, mommy. Then I used to have a damn goddamn nasty temper. But that was there. Mommy, what's your problem? That was there. Now, mommy, I'm a new man. I'm a new man. I'm a new man in the Lord. I'm a new man in the Lord's army. I'm a new man in the Lord's army. I'm a new man in Christ. Behavior.
Jesus. This is really complicated.
What's not happening, mommy? So you got you know that now?
Sandra says you killed both her parents.
You swat, bro. God. What's the meaning of all this?
Sandra says you and your group attacked and killed their parents. Are you denying it?
Mommy, I'm not denying it. Mommy, you don't understand, mommy. We got something working in us, mommy. Mommy, we stay I don't say I'm innocent about it, mommy. I don't say it.
Well, Brother Henry, you had better think of what to do. I have never seen Susan like that.
Mommy, you got to help me. Mommy, the whole world is on my head. Mommy, I'm dying. Mommy, I'm dying. The whole world is on my head. Swag, bro.
And the last scene is just like scene of Major Overheat where they raid his fiance's parents' house, and just to see the parallel between Pastor Henry and Major Overheat.
Don't have no valuables. Your people have come here before and they know we are poor. We hardly have enough to eat and clothes to dirty more. Because you damn dirty more. You are the garbage that chocolate the people mind in the name of God. You worse than the damn politician that put on the land. You're correct. You know me? Are the popular and famous Major Overheat. You know why the damn people call me Major Overheat? No, sir. They know. Because when I didn't get what I want, that's the time I get Overheat, I'm born as it. You get me? Now, when you all get all the damn valuables, you have the name of the People Liberation Army of Liberia. Like I told you before, we don't have anything. We don't even corn. We don't have food to eat. We don't have money. We're just poor missionaries. We don't have anything. The people already have come before and they know, oh yeah, don't you get him on. Amen? Yeah, boss man. Amen? Yeah, boss man. Where I got money, where I got that. Boss man, they lying. You can't understand me, right? You can't understand me? You can't understand me? I can't understand. Come on, man. You want that the military in the name of the republic you supposed to be having before? Mame? Boss man, are you talking to her? Mame? Are you talking to boss man? Mame? Yeah, boss man. We all got a wild cat, mame. Every wild cat, mame. We all got fresh meat, mame. Fresh. Oh, yeah? Every boss man. Yeah. So you the virgin that no man touched before, mame? Huh? You son of a bitch. You brute. You're worse than a robber. Please, yes? Leave her in the name of God. Please.
So, but yes, that's the end of our scene selection section, and we're happy to discuss with you, Chief Francis Duru.
Thank you very much, Simi, for showing these interesting scenes. Dr. Dogo, if you are here, you can begin to engage in.
Thank you so much. I feel like I just got transported from a completely different world back into this space that I'm realizing I'm where I am. Thank you for curating those scenes. Chief Duru, thank you for this engagement and for the work you've done so far. Before jumping into any question, just to recognize you by your official title name, Ahije Jemba, or Ahije Agamba, no, Swama, and Afungwe Lotanna, the Nollywood. As a titled Igbo man, I think it's always helpful to recognize those cultural symbolisms. Thank you for what you've done so far. So, before jumping into some questions, I was thinking about something you said earlier struck me about your collaboration with South African artists and producers and so forth. And I just wondered if you could say a little bit more about the ways that the filmmaking industry in Africa collaborate, because from an outsider's perspective, they might seem disconnected. Even within Nigeria, it seems like there are sub-segments of Nollywood that have acquired their own names. But then it also seems like you're suggesting there is a lot of collaboration and partnership. Do you mind just speaking a little bit more about that phenomenon?
Well, to be candid, what you just said, even in Nigeria itself, that collaboration is indeed something you can't do away with. It has been more or less a recurring decimal in the projections of movies today. And I even tell you, it has become a marketing strategy that if you do a movie, a blockbuster, you want to have somebody from the north, somebody from the south, somebody from the east. So somehow it has been more or less a unifying thing in our movies. Sometimes we stretch even to, I can imagine what happened between us and Ghana. A whole lot of, Ghanaian actors came down. Some of us went to Ghana to film because that was the kind of bonding the creative industry in Nollywood, to be specific, had done. All that time in search of an expansive and spatial market that cuts across our nationality and even to the sub-regions and even to the continent, to be candid. We've gone to different places to do movies, different countries to do movies and all that. So that Afrocentric, blend has always been there and is still there today, So it's something that is still reoccurring. You have the Nollywood in Nigeria, you have the Kannywood and the various woods, but again, it speaks to the fact that it is not something for just a particular tribe. We cut across, and now we're actually getting straight into the global, platform too.
No, this is wonderful because often, again, from a distance, what you hear are stories of disconnect and tension and conflict and so forth. But when you talk to people on the ground who are engaged in the process, what you hear more of is the story of collaboration, of building relationships. I think the most recent event of the artist Davido marrying a wife from the Igbo community sort of sparked that conversation for some people in an interesting way. That is that people live more through interactions, exchange, connections rather than conflict. And the conflict story you hear is more or less sort of blown out of proportion. So that's helpful. I want to go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Prof, please let me just add, let me just add to this conversation. Now, you are part of it. It even goes beyond the movies. Today in Nigeria, the creative industry has been seen as a non-oil export. And as a non-oil export, non-oil merchandise, the industry. Now, we have done the Nollywood Roadshow in Kenya. We have done Nollywood Roadshow in Namibia. We've done Nollywood Roadshow in Gambia. Where we go, take our stuff, go there, have interaction with the artists from those other, meet and greet, ask questions, peer review mechanism. They are still going on each day to China, to different places where there's that relationship, bilateral relationship. If we talk about the foreign affairs order of reciprocity that exists between two countries, we have done that even with our artworks and even our culinary adventures. So that is actually what the creative industry is all about now. Interaction, expanding the horizon.
No, this is very helpful because it sort of leads directly into one of the two main themes I wanted to engage you with. So the first is, each time I watched Nollywood, even as a child, I think I was always fascinated by what story Nollywood was trying to tell with its productions. And just as we saw in some of the clips, there are these videos that are often, considered epics that seem to be trying to capture traditional African life. What do you think Nollywood is trying to do there? Like what? Because I'm thinking this is in the backdrop of African stories being told by non-African, especially European voices that present Africa as barbaric, as, primitive, and so on and so forth. And here, Nollywood just takes the same set of cultural phenomena that's used to disparage Africa and takes it on and sort of popularizes it in movies. what do you think is the story Nollywood is trying to tell here, just beyond individual films, like the larger message that's driving that in the industry?
Well, first and foremost, the Ubuntu spirit. Let me use the Ubuntu spirit, the spirit of our oneness, our togetherness. In Igbo language, they call it Jiko Umunna. That is the meeting of brothers. Now, it speaks to one thing. It speaks to the fact that I also use an Igbo proverb, which means if you hear the cry of a brother, don't run away. Sometimes that cry is purely the Afrocentric cry to say we have been wrongly defined, and there is a need for us to define ourselves by telling our own stories. We should be appreciated now because we are telling our own stories, whether from the north of Africa, south of Africa, east of Africa, and west of Africa. And that is one thing we must hold sacred against the implicit bias, Eurocentric projections of the African man using this medium of expression, the movies. It is only when we begin to highlight, amplify, and fortify these terrains of telling our own stories that the world begins to, now the world is beginning to understand our stories. The world has so much desire for our stories, not just about our lush green platforms. I tell you something, I did a little movie that did not have, but again, I had calls from abroad, Europe and wherever, and one lady called, just wanted to know whether the lush green, the goat and the chicken coming closer together, finding their ways, whether those things were planted. I said, no, that is the real environment, our naturalness, our organic nature. That is what we have been doing with our stories, our folklore, our legendary, our sciences encased in a cultural tradition, which the world undermined while telling the stories of what they think. They said Mungo Park discovered River Niger. Where was River Niger before Mungo Park? How can you discover a river? When you say discover, it means the thing was non-existent. So it means appellations that have been given to us as Africans by virtue of, our not having the high-level intellectual tool or knowledge or advancement, not issue of civilization. I don't want to say we were not civilized. I refuse to identify with that. But the fact that you are using something I'm not used to define my being, and you are defining me lesser than who I am. So the opportunity came that, yes, while we are doing business, but we have so much of us, our cultural identities, our cultural beauty and everything to say, this is what we have to do. You watch Akweke Nodum, put it across science, myth, mysticism. That was our science. People passing through a tree. It happens. It happens still today in African society. In African society today, you are doing burial. There are people who hold the rain and the rain will not fall. They are still there. There are people who still believe in tradomedical, values, and are still using it today. So we had to tell this story because it was an opportunity to tell our own stories, who we are, and we are still telling those stories.
This is really wonderful because just to make a brief open confession, I got through to a period in my life where I just stopped watching Nollywood movies. I don't want to call it out of protest, but it just seemed to me like these people are always doing some, predictable voodoo thing, and it's like black magic. But just over the years, hearing people, and especially listening to you talk about this and looking at the research, it seems to me that Nollywood was onto something very important. That is to say that the thing being derided as primitive or savage and so forth actually hold a lot of value scientifically, culturally, religiously, at least spiritually, and so forth. So it's interesting just to hear you say that from the context of the 21st century, where it seems like the world is finally beginning to ask those questions about what we thought were meaningless or helpless from the African context. I think just to probe that question a little bit more, though, do you think that there is a tension between that is this quest to return to what our ancestors had achieved scientifically, technologically, culturally, and so forth, and the more recent flourishing of Christian religion across not only Nigeria, but really other African contexts? Is there a tension there, or are these things connected in a way that we are not yet able to understand clearly?
If I get your question well, Prof, the influx of Christian religion, I don't want to use the influx. I want to use the word advancement, society adapts to time. And in the course of that adaptation, there are advancement in knowledge, in just broad spectrum of human endeavor and existence. The same thing applies to their art. The same thing applies to their science. Today, technology now, I remember when GSM started in Nigeria. Today, the GSM we had then is not what we have today. Today, we are having a Zoom. Some years back, these things were not possible. And so, for us, these things are actually working alongside each other. It's a matter of choice. People, by virtue of their conviction, religiously and otherwise, begin to house their own thought patterns. Call it an existentialist philosophy, that's fine, where people begin to harbor and begin to build encasement of their thought patterns. There are people today who still don't want to identify with the Christian, religion. They say they are atheists. In the village, we call them Amala. There are people who in Igbo land today who see the Chi and they don't say God. Chi is a supreme being. So, as long as we have a diverse religious preoccupation, philosophical preoccupation, psychological disposition, professional disposition, it begins to affect thinking style. Same thing happens to the creative native. As a Christian, I may be pushed to use, the film as a tool for evangelism. As an Amala, somebody who is an atheist who believes so much in my traditional belief. And today we have so many such persons in the industry. My brother Ernest Obi strongly stands for our traditional heritage in all totality. Does he say there is no God? No. Does he say there's no Jesus? No. But his take, and most of our take, is that these things also are there now does not mean that the background, the cultural heritage that we came from are out of place. I remember in the Wind versus Polygamy by Obiebuna, he said something in trying to define culture. He said, destroy culture and you destroy a man. A man removed from culture is like an orphan cut off from parental care, love, and discipline. I know that is chaotic. And so that is the place of culture. So for us, identify with the things that are happening, but also tell our things, giving some level of respect, reverence to the things that define us. I deliberately decided to wear my red cap, which you understand, because of the Afrocentric nature of this particular thing. I have been wearing this particular one I'm wearing. You know what it means. I was supposed to wear two of them. I wore this because the Igbos use it. My in-laws, the people from Niger Delta, they wear it. But the Igbos, they also wear it. These are all to speak to us. I would have chosen to wear a three-piece suit. I would have, but because for me, my own conviction, my thought is, okay, let me wear this. Not because I'm wearing it for the first time, but because these are the things I like putting on. We want to go outside, for events. So my take is that there's a fusion. But it's not as if you're doing this because of that. We have advanced, but again, what we have been born from and those things, we must still give them relevance.
Thank you so much for this. I'm going to just ask maybe one or two questions about the other theme, because I know there are so many other people who would like to engage with you. Okay. So we have the opportunity to talk with someone who's not just a movie star, but also an academic. So you are finishing your PhD right now, and I wondered if you could reflect on whether you see any convergences or divergences between what Nollywood is doing, but the themes Nollywood is tackling and the ways that Nollywood is doing that on one hand, and also the themes or issues that the academia, at least your areas in the academia, are tackling and how they are approaching this. Do you see any connection or complete disconnect between these two? Or perhaps to put it differently, how do you wear those two hats? How do you resolve those two fields in your own life?
Well, for me, this is the way I put it. The Nollywood industry and the academia are more or less like Siamese mangoes, twins, who are stuck together. And they are symbiotically related. I take, for example, me. I started as an amateur straight into the university. Wore the gown for close to 6 years. But after my first year, where I did my certificate in theater arts, majored in acting, that program is like a sandwich program. That 1-year program prepares you as a core professional. Now, it helped me to a large extent because in 1 year, I was prepared to be a professional before starting the core academic theoreticalism for my BA. So before my BA, I was already grounded as a core professional from amateur to the university, now back. But then, the Nollywood industry was not really, we did not have an effulgence of the robust, presence of the Nollywood industry. I was in my room when I finished my certificate course, when the script for Missing Mask came. Then it was home video. This was between 1991 and 1992. The same time Living in Bondage, was in place. Living in Bondage had come, so everybody had to hit onto it, That was the same time. So it came up, whether as a chance thing, whether instituted or not, but it was a combination of where creative natives who were used to soap operas, those who read theaters, saw an opportunity to do stuff. Most of these creative natives came from the universities. The gown. Having learned, they came back to town to practice. You see the confluence, you see the meeting point, that practitioners who actually held sway in the Nollywood when it started were professionals of theater arts and people who had been in the, and mark you, Prof, the gown is not only the university. The Hubert Ogunde Group remains an institution that built so many people in the theater arts. And those persons did not see the four walls of the university. But for all the creative works they did, the processes they went through were purely academic. And that's why people have been able to write so much academic thesis on his works. So you see, they blend again, town and gown mix. As it went further, it became obvious. Now, as we speak today, those of us who moved from town to gown, back to town after graduation now, we do master classes. Now, some of the imperatives we use now are not imperatives of what they taught us. There is no aspect of my acting that is related to Aristotle. But Aristotle's poetics created a guide for me. So now, as somebody who went to the academics, my ability of having a thorough definition of aspect of the poetics, I now bring it when I get to turn out to redefine my process. Recently, I was supposed to do a master class, and I just stood down. I just had to, I found out that the law of absorption in psychology relates to a large extent into acting and characterization. I started exploring, Prof. I was amazed. So when I go to school now to teach this, that's the relationship. So that relationship is in abundance today. Now, to crown it further now, universities now, have curriculum, now Nollywood studies, film studies. I was privileged to have been, I think my supervisor then had to ask me to stay with them while they were actually trying to develop the curriculum based on what the Nigerian University Council now as a functional. So the business now becomes more or less functional. How much the industry has gained over more than 20-something years now has become material. So the issue now is how much is the academia making good use of these tools? How much of our processes are being taught? How much of Francis Duru is being taught as a style in acting? How much of the late Sam Loco effect was actually encased, documented to keep as okay? Let us look into this acting style of Sam Loco. Anybody? Same thing applies to other climes from South Africa. We watch robots. I watch South African movies so much now. When I watch them, as an actor, as an academician, I begin to relate what is the acting style. So when I pick this experience, I cross over to the gown side, to the academia, I teach it. By virtue of the fact that I know what it means, I could and can define that process by virtue of oscillating between those two ends. So there is so much, it's a confluence, and it must be amplified. It must be a platform for definition where, we fill up the academic space with so much of this work, from style to directing to production and all that stuff, costuming. You watch Akweke now. If you were to take a film student who is majoring in costume, and you give the film student Akweke Nodum to more or less have an historical insight, you'll be shocked at what that person has come up with in their thesis. What does that happen now? It now contributes to the body of work in the academia. So it's a two-way thing. We also need from the academia set up advocacies where those who are coming in the industry, who now want to get into anyhow because they're interested, how much knowledge are we giving them, to make sure that skills, there's a skill sector, creative media skill sector council that's now trying to see people who have achieved so much, who did not go to the university, they certificate them, academic and theoretical framework. So it's a blend of the both. No point should they be cut off. Prof?
Oh, this is really wonderful.
Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Yes, I can hear you clearly. It's like you are in my head because you've answered the last question I was going to ask you about this relationship. So essentially what I'm taking from this is instead of thinking of the academia versus, filmmaking, that is, for instance, using publications, writing and publications, or giving lectures and so forth as something radically different from what Nollywood does with films. what I'm hearing is we should be thinking of all of them as synergistic, as symbiotic. It's not one versus the other, it's both and that is working with all of them together. This is helpful. I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah. Yes,
Yes, you can be heard.
Okay.
I can hear you perfect.
Okay,
I can
wonderful.
hear you.
So let me then ask you just this last quick
I can
question
hear you.
before I pass it over to good. Just one last quick question before I pass it over to Amazing and others to open up to Q&A. Is there anything in particular you think those of us who are fully in the academia can learn from Nollywood or the use of films by Africans to tell African stories in African voices? Is there anything you think we should learn from what Nollywood has been able to achieve so far?
Yes, sir. To be candid, we must learn to be deliberate and intentional. By that, I mean to understand that we have a medium which is multifunctional, whether as something for entertainment, but for edutainment and infotainment. And understand that as a student of development communication, film has become a tool for strategic communication in every aspect. I remember too well the days of apartheid, stage play, agitational propaganda. That was what South Africa used to fight the marketplace two-man theater. It was a strategic tool for communication, expression, amplifying the voice of the people. Today, that people, you need to amplify voices because there are things that are happening wrongly. And now, film now has come more or less to the telephone. So people now watch everything here. So what are we doing with that? So I believe that academia should strive as much as possible to make it understand that it is not only for entertainment, but you can use it for edutainment. Let me give you a typical example. Let me say I'm into archaeology, and I want to talk about the Nok tradition. And I start my class by just playing a 20 minutes of a film on Nok tradition that has been done as a starter for my class. You'll be shocked at how much interest it generates and how expansive the research mode could be. So for me, not just as an actor or this thing, I see film, I see the industry as a tool for strategic communication. And you cannot talk about development without communication, not just even as theater, even as sketches and all that stuff. So these are some of the things we really need to put in place. So I think the academia needs to be very, very intentional, knowing too well that there's a very big potential in the aspect of Nollywood studies, to use in actually achieving so many other things. Let's not just see it purely as that tool for just mere entertainment, infotainment, edutainment, and take it broadly.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful. It just reminds me of Chief Peter Duchie's recommendation that we should begin to think of partnership between people in the academia and people in Nollywood to tell these stories, because there will be a lot of messages, a lot of ideas that could be packaged as film.
That's true. That's true. Even with the university now, Pennsylvania University, or your department and all that stuff, there's nothing wrong in having more or less a film project that comes from that end to this particular end. I think what we are doing now has just opened the doors for it. It has opened the doors for it beyond the conversations. So let's go beyond the talk and step into the work with very gigantic steps. You'll be shocked that we'll be creating a new genre in film where universities now that offer African studies are churning out movies that are coming in place, put them on the Netflix space at all, and the expansion is there.
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful and brilliant insights. Let me pass things over to Amazing, because I'm sure that there are so many other people who are dying to engage with you. Thanks again, Chief Duru, for this.
Thank you so much, Daru.
For your Wonderful presentation. So we have a question from Sibusi Sukliff. He says, why is there a lot of witchcraft, evil powers, and the likes in Nollywood? Is this about the nature of human life in the society or about the imagination of the movie makers?
First, I like that question, and it's a good thing because the person answered the question. Every work, every film oscillates between two dimensions. There's a prescriptive mode and there's a descriptive mode. When I use the prescriptive mode, that's where imagination comes in. Now, be rest assured, one thing you must understand, the Nollywood industry, when it started, yes, it was purely enterprise, mere business, all that stuff. But in every spatial expression of art, whether in a regulated space or unregulated space, as long as there is an intersection with the art, one thing speaks, which is authenticity and the place of the truth in the art. In the French neoclassicist era, they call it the concept of verisimilitude, where every work of art must express to a large extent the sense of truthfulness. What we call witchcraft is a science which exists in every African society. But what we have succeeded in doing in our movies is to amplify this evil, but making sure evil does not go unpunished. On the second thought too, I think it is an unfair assessment too for us in the business by seeing that as the nature of our society. In the course of every work of art, there's a bit of amplification. If I do a Photoshop of you, we'll see all the gloss. If a painter were to paint you, what you see may not be the same thing. So as long as art takes its course, there is a generalism, but we are not creating out of a vacuum. We are creating from nature. And when you talk about witchcraft, what is in Nigeria today as aspect of witchcraft, you will not see a percentage of people who would take yes for witchcraft. It remains an aberration in our society. Then for the course of imagination, it's simply because when the space started, when the whole thing started, we did not have the kind of institutions that will actually prune and actually make things, align with the things they are supposed to be, censorship and all that stuff. But today there's a very strong censorship. So any movie that goes through censorship and all that stuff will not meet some of those. So it is not because we are trying to amplify evil. And for me too, that's a general statement. For every generality, there's always an exception to the rule. So there are the people imaginative when the writer writes and goes out to describe, prescribe what he thinks will sell to make money, what to create a hype, controversy. I'll give you a typical example. There was a time, it was the tomboy philosophy that was reigning in the Nollywood industry. So we were filming, and we heard that one of the female characters just had to climb a palm tree, a long palm tree. The producer who was on my set while we were filming now had to look for a mango tree for her own lead actress to climb. So that time, that was a tomboy imperative that was actually selling. So sometimes most of these things sell because it is what the producer or the marketer decides to sell to the public, not as if it's a true reflection of what is happening in the society. So it's a mixed, a potpourri of different, like a complete sandwich that gives you sweet, bitter, and sour taste.
Okay. I hope that answers your question. I also have a question about global narratives. So how do you think African movies have changed the global narrative about Africa? That is, if the narrative is out there, how do you think it has changed the narrative about Africa? globally?
When you talk about global narrative today, I want us to narrow global narrative to issues of music, film, arts, and sports. Are they part of global narrative? Are they global narratives? That you want to talk about sports today, you go to look at our Premier League, look at the American League, you see Africans who are doing so well in those aspects. That's a narrative. You go to music, the Davidos, the Burna Boys, and all those big African names, that's pushing that narrative. So what not just Nollywood, what our art has been able to do now is to bring the world to us. So the world no longer looks at us as those people who don't have value, but now look at us as potential greats. The Chidi Amanda, check, mention it now that there's so much focus on Africa. And when Africans arise from that perspective, they are not just dwarfed. They are tall and they are seen from that perspective. So if you look at it, it has positively and will always positively increase and improve global narrative towards Africa as not just that continent that used to be laid back. Yes, we have our issues. We have our problems. We have our negatives. But these negatives are not the things that define us. We have moved beyond that, and we are somewhere that people have no choice but to look at us from a podium of reverence, a podium of greatness, a podium where you say, you can't toy with these people. And if you look at it from every aspect, even to our politics, everything, we are doing well in Africa. We are not where we are supposed to be, but we are not where we used to be.
Thank you very much. Simi, you can go ahead and ask your question.
I have a question, but it's more from the perspective of a Nollywood fan. And so
Okay.
the characters you play, they tend to fall, like you mentioned, sometimes tend to be complicated. They have a history, they have this complicated past, and they are very multi-dimensional. So, and you also play something that I call a lost art, which is like a lover boy, like a sieve, like that characters where there is love driven, love seeking. We see this kind of at least in the movies when we were selecting your scenes, we kept seeing this you just could act it so well. And so I was thinking in terms of your acting style, was there something about your acting style or the things that that let you be cast for those kind of roles that drew maybe casting directors or producers to you in terms of your acting style, in terms of being able to play very multi-dimensional characters or a lover boy character? What exactly about your acting style really brought those out of you?
Oh, okay, beautiful, Simi. Thank you so much for this question. Now, to be candid, I am the actor. I'm not just an actor. When I use that definite word, I am the actor who understands too well that, acting calls for one thing: respect for emotional truth, emotional realism. And definition of acting is the artist who paints on the canvas of human emotions. So if I know that, I know too well that every role that has been given to me, my job is to transform that role to a character that is believable. And if it must be believable, then characterization is key. So characterization is key for me in anything I play. You give me a role to convert into a character, my sense of characterization is usually deep. I don't go on peripheral, level of characterization. I want to go deep. I read my text too well to get the hidden meaning, finding my subtext, my depth of psychologization per se. Don't mind me. My relationship with the next actor. Does the next actor help me to bring out what I want to give? Do I relate with my... I say, I've been privileged to have been taught by great minds, professors, Professor Imaselu taught us one trick in directing and acting. He called it a relay race baton technique in acting. And the relay race baton technique speaks to how the actor is like someone in a relay team. And in the relating, it is not one person winning the race, but collectively we win. And for us to win, handing over the baton to the next actor, to the next, athlete is important. How you start matters, how you finish matters. So for me, there's so much respect for characterization because of my training. If you were trained in University of Port Harcourt, if for any reason you had some opportunities with the late Olarotimi Carol Doss, Amatu Break, Columbus Iriswanga, Professor Marcelo, the whole lot of those guys, you understand that there must be something organic. And you are actually being trained to be a 360 degrees mold actor. So once a director knows well that you are a 360 degrees mold, once they write the script, they say, give it to him. He will give me what I want. So there's a trust factor because of the way you have handled things, efficiency, effectiveness, professionalism, your discipline. So in Igbo language, they say, I had the money, which means a good market sells itself. So that's how we've been able to attract those particular, like, well, you are right to say that I've played the Lover Boys, sometimes the one they broke his heart, sometimes the one they steal his wife, I'll cry so much. But when they say that, I tell them, I said, that is where the money is, But beyond that's a joke. But beyond that, I see role playing as part and parcel of what makes you an actor. I refuse to be a linear actor that I'll be known for only one particular kind of role. No, that's not me. So that's why you see me on those particular, I can flip. I can take it 360 degrees as it comes.
All right, thank you very much. Joy has a question. She says, thank you so much for your reflections in today's discussion, Chiduru. I am really curious to hear your take on how you think Nollywood is connecting with the diaspora right now, especially with all the great work coming out from Nigerians and Africans abroad. Also, what do you think could be done, both on screen and behind the scenes, to make that relationship more collaborative and mutually rewarding? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy. That's a beautiful question, I think there's a synergy with the diaspora. It may not be with the diaspora as an ensemble, but there are various persons in the diaspora, right? Let me even tell you, people from the diaspora now come down to Nigeria to shoot movies and go back. Yes, a whole lot of productions are happening now. They come from the diaspora, come to Nigeria, shoot big films, and they go back. You know why? They have the advantage of the dollar to naira or euro to naira. So with the small dollar you have there, you come here, it is big money, you shoot here and go. So that one is there. But on another scale, what I will also advise is that, as the diaspora as an ensemble should actually put themselves together. Let me give you a typical example. I'm from the Southeast. We have great stories in the Southeast that have not been shot, that have not been done. The Nnamdi Azikiwe's, the Agunyi Ronsis, you name them. So I believe diasporans from Southeast, the Nigerian Civil War, they are begging for stories. They are begging for films. And so I believe today that the people in the diaspora to look at this opportunity. There are scripts that have already been written, but lacking the funding to do them. There's a script as we speak now for the Nigerian Civil War. There's a script on different aspects of our non culture, but it's looking for one thing, money. My late friend, Kash Nwachukwu of blessed memory, wrote one script he was supposed to film in America, The Seventh Sacrament. Each time I read that script, I say, wow, who can interpret this? He wrote in America, Houston, actors were to come from Nigeria to diaspora to shoot. The themes were purely Afrocentric and purely, Igbo-centric. So we need the diaspora to step in things like this and make sure we expand the frontiers and actually project our values, our heritage to the world.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments anyone wants to make? Okay, there's a comment from Patience I'd like to read for you. She says that I've always loved Nigerian movies for their allegorical and Afro-communitarian nature. They give you insight into the foils of society that need to be salvaged and the centrality of tradition and community in the lives of people. I don't know if I can say same about Ghanaian movies, especially in this modern generation. Thanks for sharing these videos with us, Chief Duru. I'm glad I had the chance to see you. One thing I'm confused about is whether to tell friends I've met Chief Duru or tell them I've electronically seen you. That being the case, I know this particular seeing feels real than when I see you on the television. May your legacy live on. This is from Patience Autry.
We will definitely see. We are getting closer. We'll definitely see. Thank you so much. I just want to add something he said, which is very, very key. Our philosophies are rooted in our proverbs, and they are thought-provoking, they are piercing. So these are movies to remain another medium through which we can now project our philosophies to our language. I'll tell you the truth, a whole lot has not been explored when it relates to even our language. Okay, let's talk about the Nsibidi. Nsibidi in Igbo language that was used to fight a war at that particular period, a whole lot. Nothing much has been done about that language. And I believe there are other languages in Africa that are seeking, recognition. The multifunctional aspect of the film, theater, remains something we can use. And that's another aspect I believe the academia should also identify with, not just purely for entertainment, but look at projects that actually go towards projecting our philosophies, our heritage beyond just entertainment.
Okay.
Good. Right.
Sarah also has a question. She says, I was describing you to a colleague. I said, oh, he cries easily. It comes so easy and natural. Would you say you are soft in the inside?
They say do not judge a book from the cover. But I'll tell you to judge this book from the cover. What you have seen is what you have. This is me. This is me. I love him. I love humanity. I love being a source of happiness to the next human being. I hate injustice. Anything that is going to make the next person grief, pain, and all that stuff, I don't like it. So this is me, simply unique, nothing more.
All right. Thank you very much
No, thank you.
for coming here and being with us. We really enjoyed your conversation.
Yes.
Next week, we would have Nenji
Thank you so much.
who would speak on oil paint and Nigerian weaving, intersections in cross-cultural practices. Professor Makuni, do you have any last words for us?
No, I can only say thank you very much to Chief Francis Duru and to Simi, yourself, Desmond, and everybody. And we must say also congratulations to patients who passed their qualifying exam, etc.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, patients.
Congratulations.
So you must cry, patience. Can you cry, patience? All right.
All right, Prof. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Chief, thanks a lot. When are you coming to the States? I can't remember. Are you visiting State College?
Well, if I'm coming there, I'll let you know. But if there's also an invitation, it's not a problem. I just also want to say this is an open check. Anytime you feel me, you feel you think there are things we should have discussions on, please don't hesitate,
Okay.
We just open the gate for that conversations.
Yes, we must.
If you don't mind, let me just mention something that I've sort of been reflecting on while we've been talking. Chief Duru, one thing that strikes me is, to your very last note earlier, I don't know that there are many Nigerians who will be surprised that you are truly, genuinely a kind person, a very good human being to be around. And when you said earlier that you've managed fame with moderation, I think it's a that shows your modesty there, because there are so many people who invest so much in propping up a particular image of a celebrity. And I don't get any bit of that from you, not even the tiniest bit. Just engaging with you feels like just engaging with your fellow human being, a next door neighbor sort of person. And I truly want to applaud you for that, because I know it's not easy, especially for somebody who became famous in Nigeria as a child, technically. You know, I mean, if you think about it, all of us were still very young when, like when I tell people Francis Duru, most of them wouldn't know who I'm talking about. If I say Ahanna, they know what I'm talking about. Because just from Rattlesnake, Rattlesnake made you such a household name in Nigeria and made you like, a beloved in Nigeria. Every Nigerian fell in love with you. And you had every reason and opportunity to be arrogant, to feel on top of the world. But I've never for 1 second sensed that. So I really want to commend you for continuing to be that kind of a person. It's the best of what we have to export, humanity. It's the best we can give the world.
And I mean, and Desmond, like you're saying, also what's important, I think, which some of us don't say as many times as we should, is the sheer amount of work and time the graduate students, let's say some of them, Richard was here, Simi, amazing, and Allah and Patience, put into making these more or less productions accessible every week. I mean, I don't think Simi remembers this. When Simi came to see me as part of the Professional Students Association, and she was looking at my books, and she saw one book written, Hollywood, I can't remember who is the author, Nollywood. So I said to her, oh yes, we're going to have Pete and all that. But she said, oh yeah, she wants to take part. And ever since then, she has never let us down. I mean, she has put in so much time and energy into this.
Wow.
It's quite impressive, I mean, to have that level of commitment to something that you just say, okay, I want to be part of this. And she just continues. Simi, I'm proud of you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, Simi. I also want to use the opportunity to thank them to make the whole thing seamless. There are various correspondences. They made things very easy for you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody.
Thanks everyone for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, amazing. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah. Desmond, we'll talk. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.